Hi everyone, I'm Marissa Parry and welcome to Be Inspired with PurelyB, your guide to living healthy in Asia, where we have real conversations with experts and personalities across Asia on how to maintain a healthy lifestyle that can help you. So in this episode, I want to address an issue that I feel a lot of us may be experiencing. Does any of this relate to you? Do you eat healthy? Do you exercise regularly? But you're not losing any weight, or you might be losing a little bit, but nothing substantial. So I can understand how frustrating this can be, that it can even derail you from your efforts. So I want to look at this issue and let's dive deep into it. So I brought us an expert to help us out. Dr. Carolyn Goh is an integrated health consultant specializing in using a combination of detox, mitochondrial therapy, nutrition, and Bowen therapies to treat conditions ranging from digestive and skin issues to adrenal fatigue and chronic degenerative diseases. She strongly believes that there is no one-size-fits-all and is passionate about empowering others to take charge of their health to heal themselves. Dr. Carolyn is featured on webinars on e-health learning and has also been published in books on integrated approaches to healing, such as her chapter on gut health and the nervous system in Choices in Pregnancy and Childbirth by John Wilkes. Hi, Dr. Carolyn. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to focus on a topic that concerns a lot of women, and that is weight loss. So I know for a very small percentage of women out there, all they have to do is adjust their diet, they have to get on the treadmill, and bam, they're ready for Instagram, right? But the reality for so many women out there is that they feel they're eating right, they're exercising on a regular basis, and yet the weight's not coming off, or it's coming off really slowly. Could you tell us some of the issues that might be underlying why these women find it so difficult to lose weight?
I think before we go into the topic of underlying issues, we need to first look at the belief of what people hold when it comes to weight loss. So for some people, weight loss is just looking nice in their bikinis.
Right.
But you really have to look at it from the point of view of your body, the health of your body. Are you eating to regenerate, to nourish your body? Or are you just eating because you want to keep the calories out?
Which,
they're
even
completely different concepts.
It is, right? In the line of work that I have is like all about calories, and then they're obsessed about how much they're eating. They got to cut out the rice. But when you're now going back to what you just mentioned and about the mindset and what the body actually needs, can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Well, our bodies are essentially, these amazing biological machines that can do almost anything. And rather unfortunately for us, I think sometimes it's very adaptable. So it tends to adapt to all kinds of scenarios. And if you feed junk food into the body, it tends to adapt to that. And it goes down a metabolic pathway which won't bring you the best results, but it will survive. And that's how cravings for carbs and things like that come in. If you feed yourself with processed food all the time, what you're actually doing is causing damage, degeneration to the body, killing off your mitochondria, which then brings you down a metabolic pathway that ends up with insulin resistance, diabetes, atherosclerosis.
So
aging.
actually, now how you're saying that, there are actually a lot of people out there who are, like you said, eating this diet of processed foods, and they're feeling okay.
Yeah.
But actually they're not feeling the optimum. And so
Yeah.
now you're telling us that we're damaging our mitochondria,
Yeah.
which is our source of energy in our body.
Very much so. So your cells, in fact, 99% of our DNA is actually bacterial, only 1% is what we call human DNA. And so your mitochondria is made up of bacterial DNA. And we are just basically a host for all these microorganisms and this bacteria to live in us. So what we have to do is provide a very nice environment for them to live in. And if you feed them with junk food, processed foods, additives, or all these toxins, what you will create is a toxic environment. And when you have a toxic environment, you can't help but to feel toxic.
So if we're talking about toxicity in the body and all this processed food and everything that is fueling it, so basically this is where it becomes difficult to lose weight, right? So it's not just as simple as cutting out calories and getting into the gym. We've now got to go back into healing the body.
Yes. Think of food as your medicine. The way, we used to think of it before. Traditionally, how our forefathers, our grandparents used to eat. We used to eat all kinds of, in Malaysia we call it ulams, those fresh green herbs and vegetables. Those are nourishing. Those are, our medicines really. And we've put them aside. We've gone for Western processed foods, pizzas and pastas, and which really are empty calories and just, doing harm.
Do you feel that women in Asia, people in Asia, that we are facing anything particularly different in our diet? That's that you can see the rise of obesity. I mean, Malaysia is hitting close to 40% in obesity and people being overweight, with Thailand and Singapore not far behind. They're almost hitting 30%. So, I mean, this is a rising epidemic that we really need to face.
Yeah, I think, it's basically we've moved on from the foods that we used to eat, that our bodies have adapted to. We moved on to things that, we're not used to. So a lot of clients I see, they come in with, suddenly they've gone on this really strange diet of just quinoa or just porridge every single time. And, I said, why did you go on that? Because they read this health blog and it said, this is the best food, or blueberries. So they stuff everything with blueberries.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, they are good foods, but you might not be able to digest it. So you've got to look at your digestion. You need to look at, where you came from. And you've got to go back to what you were eating previously when you're young, because that's how your immune system, how your body adapts, and how it builds itself from those, early years. So those are really important. What I mean is the foods that, the older generations used to consume, things like ulam, things like fermented foods, like pickles, like in Korea they have kimchi, in Japan they have their pickles, and, tempeh in Indonesia. And the Vietnamese have a lot of their herbs that they put in their pho noodles and things like that.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that are really nourishing. And they really help the body, and it really, really prevents degeneration and aging. So that is the way that we need to go down, not towards the processed foods which are actually damaging to the body, that kill off the mitochondria. And as I mentioned previously, once you kill them off, you can't get them back.
So, okay, so you're mentioning the food, fermented foods, which are really great for our gut and to regenerate our mitochondria. I mean, can you give some tips here on just some easy ways to start this healing process? I mean, the fermented foods it can be a little bit tricky.
It can be.
So maybe just some easier tips that we could give that can get into that right path again.
I would say the very first step, if you're looking to lose weight, is look at your portion size. How often do you eat? And just cut down on the carbs a little bit and try and replace it with healthy fats so that you prolong your glucose tolerance throughout the day, so you don't get these spikes throughout the day that make you crave foods. Don't go about dramatically trying to, change your diet and start eating stuff that you've seen on blogs, because you can't sustain that. It's not going to work.
And when you talk about reducing carbs, so again, a lot of people think that they've got to cut out the rice and they've got to cut out this and then they're going to lose weight. I mean, what's your opinion on that? And you did mention like lower down the carbs. So
I don't recommend cutting out carbs completely. Carbs are one of the necessary precursors to making serotonin, which, as we know, is the happy hormone. So a lot of people who are overweight are depressed. Yeah. And you cut out the carbs, they get even more depressed. So what do they start to do? They start
to eat.
Exactly.
Right? So it becomes a whole vicious.
They stuff themselves with carbs. The potato chips just looks even more enticing because, it's their happy thing, right?
Yeah.
So, and you also need to look at why this person is, what their relationship is with food. Do they use it as comfort?
Yeah.
Or is it something that, it's a habit. They just eat more and more all the time.
And, especially in Asia where rice is our staple, right? Rice and noodles. And I mean,
there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with
Absolutely
it, right?
nothing.
And I just think it is almost impossible to cut this out of an Asian diet.
I would not cut it out at all.
So it's just about, again, eating sensible portions.
Exactly.
And then filling it up with good things. I always like to say that. Don't think about always cutting things out of your diet, but how can you add in the good things into your diet?
I mean, for example, if you're having, a bowl of noodles and you cut down the noodles in it, but you have more of the stock. And most of the time our Asian diets, for example, like the pho noodles, are made out of really rich bone marrow stock, which is so good for you, so good for your gut, so good for your skin, so good for everything in your body. You just fill yourself up on that, and that will last much longer. It's much more nourishing.
And chop up all those fresh herbs as well, right?
Exactly.
Because they've got really good prebiotics as well for a lot of gut healing as well.
Yeah.
So again, just having a little bit more time in food preparation.
Yeah.
I think we're really lucky to begin to see a whole flourish of healthy eateries coming up, I think, all over healthy food deliveries. You're seeing so many Instagram accounts that offer fermented foods, kefir, kombucha. They're all making their comeback, which is great. And again, we're just living such busy lives, but yet these people are making it easier. So I think it's coming back to understanding what we need to heal.
Exactly. I think, it's great to have all these, health food concepts and everything. But what I am seeing is that most of them are concentrating on Western food concepts. They're bringing in things which the Western diet is said to be very healthy, like avocados and things like that. And how much does an avocado cost? It's so expensive. So obviously if you go and eat in a restaurant, it's going to be double the cost, right? So that again is not sustainable. So you have to go back to what was good for you as an Asian. And there's nothing wrong with our Asian diet. It's full of good fats, full of lovely coconut oil, coconut milk, things like that, which has been demonized, which is I think quite sad actually.
So going back to our roots and understanding where we've come from. I mean, for example, can I talk about the paleo diet? Like how you said, looking at a diet that existed a million years ago, based on some sort of research which is still quite questionable, and like you said, very westernized. And yet you have people in Asia trying to follow this Western diet, and you got to wonder why they're not getting the results, right? Because I just think the body is not quite used to all that processing of that kind of food and the digestion. And just coming back down and looking at all the leafy greens that are available here, right? Everyone always says
such an amazing array of foods. You just go to the local market and it's full of all these, lovely things which are so much cheaper than, Western things that they're importing. And, if you can grow it your own, even better.
Again, bringing that whole concept, that whole myth, or not myth, but everyone says being healthy is expensive. Yes, it's expensive if you're trying to adopt a diet that doesn't exist in the region that you're in. So if you're filling it up with imported foods and avocados, it is going to get expensive. But if you look at where you're living, which we have an abundance of amazing foods and ingredients, then it obviously becomes a lot more sustainable, right?
Exactly. And going back to, being intuitive, so reading what your body needs rather than just eating because you see a plate of food in front of you. You've got to use that other sense in your body, which it sometimes will tell you if it's craving that bowl of soup, etc. Obviously don't listen to it if it's craving a muffin, but you've got to go back to the intuitive sense, because it does tell you when it wants to eat, when you want a bigger portion and when you don't.
Just that whole kind of mindfulness, right? I think a lot of times we just become robots. It's breakfast time, it's lunchtime, it's tea time, it's dinner. And again, that whole conditioning that we're supposed to eat this many meals a day, but then again, now just coming and listening to your body. So someone actually might do really well on those 3 meals a day and like 2 snacks, and someone else might do really well on sort of like 6 or 7 smaller meals. So again, just like you said, listening to your body and what works for you. Okay, so I want to go back to the whole foods, nourishing foods. And I think, there's a huge topic, right? Everyone loves to talk about food, but we're so bombarded with all this stuff on the internet that you should be eating this, fat burning foods for a flat belly, and this, does that even exist?
Again, I think you need to think of foods in a different way. You need to look at them as sources of nourishment for the body. And so you regenerate and you heal your body, and therefore your body is now able to go down an efficient pathway of burning your fat. So there's a whole collection of foods that do that, but there is not just one food that you could eat that would just burn away all the fat.
It's going to burn away, right? We all wish that would happen, but look, I eat avocados and all this kind of, oats and stuff, but I don't really see the fat shedding off, but
you look great.
Well, okay. Thank you, Dr. Carolyn. So let's look at some of the foods that we should be adding to our shopping cart so that we can, nourish our body and rejuvenate our mitochondria and be on a path to helping us to lose weight and get to a, more vibrant lifestyle.
Right. Well, we live in Asia, right? And we're so blessed. We've got all these amazing spices. You walk down the spice aisle and you see turmeric, you see galangal, you see lemongrass and ginger and all these amazing things. You just imagine a nice bowl of tom yum soup with all that inside. And, and that's low in carbs as well. It's brilliant. It's got all that in it.
So comforting as well.
Exactly. We've got amazing leafy greens. We've got the pak choys, the kailans, the choy sums, the spinach and everything. We've got it all. You don't really need to go looking elsewhere for it.
Don't need to always depend on your broccolis and your cauliflowers and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
Which do add up in the shopping cart, right?
Exactly.
And looking at coconut oil and this whole thing about and adding all this good fats that you were saying. So someone that is already overweight,
Yeah.
and this whole thing about adding more fat into the diet. Can you help a little bit on that? People adding coconut oil to their coffee to lose weight. I mean, do they need that extra fat?
I don't know how that tastes, but
actually tastes quite good when you whiz it
Really?
all up. But I mean, again, you already got a good 20-30 pounds to lose. You're already eating fat in your other meals, and then you're adding extra fat into your coffee. I mean,
the way I look at it is, if you're going to cut back on carbs, you need something to sustain yourself. There's no point cutting back on carbs and then the next hour, having this huge sugar drop and then craving a donut. This is not going to work. So you've got to add things in it which will make it sustainable over a 24-hour period.
Yep.
And the only thing that does that is good fats. Okay, so you feed your body with these good fats. It then takes you down this really efficient pathway, the metabolic pathway, that encourages the body to burn fats instead of carbs. And when you go down the pathway, the not so nice pathway of burning carbs, you actually create a lot of free radicals in your body, and this creates a lot of damage. It kills your mitochondria, causes aging, degeneration, all kinds of things. Whereas when you burn fats, it's actually much of a purer fuel, so it has less side effects, you call it.
so I think the key here is now going all back to looking within and actually just taking this whole weight loss thing a little bit more slowly.
Yes,
Yeah?
absolutely.
Heal yourself from within,
Yeah.
and then you're going to start
Yeah.
seeing the results.
Don't think of it as a weight loss diet or weight loss plan. Think of it as a healing, regeneration plan. You heal your body from the inside out, and one of the byproducts or end products is that you lose weight
Yes.
and you look great. So
I mean, that is another way that I also kind of like to work with people. And I say, look, if you're so fixated on that weighing scale, actually, it's going to take you a long time to get there because the mindset's all wrong.
Yeah.
It's all and the whole
Exactly.
depression comes in, and the whole stress and the crazy calorie counting. I mean, I find it, all these apps that we have to count your calories,
Yeah.
but I don't think people understand
Yeah.
calories. Like, one calorie doesn't equal another calorie.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
It's become an obsession, isn't it? It's something that you want control over it, therefore you obsess over the calories, etc.
Yeah, like how you said, the calories in carbs and the calories in fat. Like 100 calories from a carbohydrate and 100 calories from a fat
Yeah.
work in your body completely differently.
It's a completely different metabolic pathway.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So you've got someone. They're eating well. They're exercising regularly.
Yeah.
They kind of, and then yet nothing is happening. Can we let's go back to that very first question.
Okay, so if you feel that you're doing everything and you're a bit stuck, or you feel worse, or you feel you suddenly got allergies, rashes, you've got your skin looks worse, you feel fatigued, you feel really tired, you're not sleeping well, something's just not right.
Yeah.
Then you need to take a step back. You need to look at what the underlying issues could be, and you probably do need to seek help from a practitioner. So 90% of the clients that I see coming in for weight loss issues, we look at underlying issues. So when I see a client, I look at them from the health perspective. We don't weigh them, anything of that sort,
Yeah.
right? So we do talk about food, about what they're eating on a daily basis, etc., and try and make it, something that they don't stress about, something they can easily do for long term. Okay, and then we look at exercise, and you're the expert on that, right? So, to make sure they're doing the right exercise for them. And then we look at, I have something called mitochondrial therapy. We look at how we test the mitochondria to see whether they're producing enough energy. And if they're not, then this person really will not be able to lose weight, because the body itself is not able to take on all this nourishment that it's been given. It's just going to go, no, I'm not ready. I need to sort out what these issues first, and then nourish me, and then I'll do what you want me to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so some of these underlying issues are due to mitochondrial degeneration, is adrenal fatigue, thyroid issues, hormonal issues, immune system disorders, autoimmunity, you name it, there are loads of them.
But the great thing about some of these issues that you just mentioned, adrenal fatigue being something that I personally feel I'm actually possibly experiencing, they are issues that we can deal with, right? Through
Absolutely.
looking at our lifestyle, what we're nourishing our body, again, just everything that we've been talking
It's
about.
important to catch it early as well, to recognize that there is an issue and you need to deal with it.
And like how you spoke about exercise, and yes, that is what I do, and I give people exercise programs along with that, but I mean, it's a full holistic program. I mean, I love everything that you said, and I love working with people like yourself, because you help with all those underlying issues, and I feel that sometimes it takes a network to help actually heal someone.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, you're really good at what you do, and I'm good at what I do, and
Yes,
and together, and that's where we get the results. You know, because there's so many things that people, I think, they just don't realize. So you got to look at your diet, you've got to look at what exercise you're doing, you got to look at your health. Any health issues.
Yeah, you've got to look at toxicity.
Yes.
How toxic are you? A lot of people who have the extra weight are highly, highly toxic, because toxins just love hiding in fatty tissue.
Right.
They just love it. And when you undergo a detox program, and I mean, a proper detox program, not juicing, that kind of thing.
Not those 3-day, 5-day high sugar detox.
No.
That is not a detox, okay?
No. This is, we're talking heavy metals, chelation, but something that's safe, something that's effective and safe, and it's not very quick. It can't be quick, because most of the time these quick things are, it's just too much of a shock for the body. Yeah. So you can see the weight loss, it just falls off you. It's amazing.
So again, coming back to that whole thing of, if you're not losing weight and you feel like you're eating right and you're exercising, go and seek help from a medical practitioner, and find out what underlying issue you may have, hormonal, like you mentioned, adrenal, mitochondrial, high toxic levels. And if you can nail down that, if you can nail down and look into the underlying issues, then I think you're going to be on a path to to be able to drop off that weight. Well, I mean, you're going to feel good first, and that's always the best part, and that's what kind of keeps you going.
Yeah.
And then the weight naturally drops off.
Absolutely.
Right?
And you can sustain it.
That's the key point, right?
Yeah.
Sustainability.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. Wow. That was so informative. It's a great reminder even to myself, just to take a step back sometimes and make sure whatever I'm doing actually makes my body feel good.
Yeah.
Dr. Carolyn, any last words for our audience from today?
I would say just keep it simple. If you're trying to lose weight, cut back a little bit on your portions, add in the good fats, make sure you're eating the all-rounded diet. Don't try and go drastically and change your diet to something that you've never eaten before. And remember that whatever you're eating is meant to be regenerating and healing for your body, as opposed to just counting the calories.
So for all of you watching out there, I hope you found Dr. Carolyn's tips really useful. If you did, please leave us a comment below. Or if you have a question for us, also leave us a comment below. So don't forget, follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Hop on over to PurelyB.com, where we have loads of inspirational articles, and you can even sign up for our newsletter. Thank you so much for watching Be Inspired with PurelyB. I'm Marissa Parry. Till next time.